the Death Devil. She is one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and she is a primal fear. Feared by both devils and humans. The most powerful devil in existence is this. Tatsuki Fujimoto's Chainsaw Man is filled with misdirections and twists, but this is the biggest twist of them all in my opinion, and the opinion of many fans. Trust me, the Chainsaw Man Discord blew up after this chapter was released on April Fool's Day. Yeah, Tatsuki Fujimoto is a genius, but a troll, releasing, like, the biggest plot twist in Chainsaw Man on April Fool's Day. Anyway, I've gone back and reread the entirety of Chainsaw Man Part 2 to uncover, like, hints and other details that would show that fake Fami is actually the Death Devil. And I can't lie, it was kind of obvious the entire time. It's just that we believed that she was the Fami Devil because she said it. This video is split into different categories, depending on what the kind of action or the hint that led to be like, oh, Fami's the Death Devil. And the first one is her misdirection. Now I need to do the usual YouTube stuff, so please, if you like this video, like, comment, share, subscribe, and yeah. In chapter 113 of Chainsaw Man, specifically the aquarium scene, when Yoru and Asa are talking about Denji and how Asa's a boring person because she had some random ass fish facts, Death interrupts and says that Asa's right, and then Yoru's kind of shocked that Death just kind of appears out of nowhere. Obviously, nobody knows it's Death this time because it was just revealed, except for maybe Yoru, because whenever Death says that she's War Devil's big sister, Fam and Devil call her Fami, Yoru shout, not good, Asa, don't listen to that, but then she gets cut off by both Death and Yoru just disappearing. Now for a point I'll get on later, Yoru could have either said, no, don't listen to her, because either she's the Death Devil, or because she doesn't want outsider input on Asa. But Death clearly wanted the alias of Fami, so nobody would really suspect her, and nobody would, like, try to attack her or anything. Because obviously, if you see the Death Devil, you'd probably want to attack them. So skipping ahead to chapter 135, this is after Asa's poem about Chainsaw Man, which...
You're just awful with guys. So yeah, you're a fucking femcel. And honestly, I'm scared of your taste in music. I'm not a femcel! It's perfectly normal to listen to Weezer and Nixie and the Smiths.
Anyway, Death appears out of nowhere again, as is a common theme for her now, saying to Yoru that she's eating her bread completely plain, which is a fair point to make, because what weirdo eats their bread completely plain? But then she asks for the full loaf of bread, which again plays into the role of her being the supposed Fam Devil. She then says she'll grant Asa and Yoru a wish, which is a trope with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and Pochita, because Pochita was asking about wishes, Makima said she'll grant Denji a wish, and Yoru says she'll grant Denji a wish, and now Death is saying she'll grant Asa and Yoru a wish. The difference about this wish, though, is that it's directed towards Asa and Yoru, as all the other ones were about Denji's wishes, like having a normal life, and obviously Makima and Yoru's. Death then asks to go to the fridge, which they just comply with, and then she kind of does this whole speech thing. Asa wants to help Chainsaw Man, Yoru wants to kill him. It's possible to choose both. At the moment, Chainsaw Man has given up on fighting devils to lead an ordinary human life. Problem is that Chainsaw Man's own heart prevents him from being an ordinary human. Even weakling devils can become powerful by eating strong devils, those who are feared. It's why devils are constantly after him, trapping him in a cycle of violence. Many of the Chainsaw Man Church's followers were saved by Chainsaw Man. We want to save him this time. We're hunting down all the devils in the town so that he won't have to fight. If everyone forgets about Chainsaw Man, he'll grow weak as a devil, and then can live an ordinary life. I want you to join the Chainsaw Man Church and fight with us, Asa. Someone who's been saved should want to return the favor. Is it the red Chainsaw Man you want to fight, Yoru? Isn't it the Black Chainsaw Man? Black Chainsaw Man and Red Chainsaw Man are not the same person. I'm not surprised you didn't realize, since we sisters have no interest in faces, human or devil. If you want to fight Black Chainsaw Man, you'll need to turn Red Chainsaw Man back into an ordinary human. The Chainsaw Man that Asa wants to save, and the Chainsaw Man that Yoru wants to kill are different beings. Join the Chainsaw Man Church and you can help each other. There are two ways to really look at this, because I don't think that is what Death wants, truly. Now, she could be using this to lure War in and say that, hey, we're gonna weaken Chainsaw Man, which would obviously entice War, so War could kill Chainsaw Man. Or she could just be trying to lie and lure War in anyway, because we know that Death does want to die via the new chapter. We also know that this is just completely not true, because Death either makes a contract with the Fire or Justice Devil to start turning people into Chainsaw Man, and that starts building the fear again for Chainsaw Man, which is also called the Chainsaw Man War, and obviously War, it strengthens Yoru, leading again to saying that Death wants to die. There's also one more piece of information that we get from that none of the four horsemen recognize each other by their faces. It's all smell, it's all other attributes, that's not sight. From this, we can infer that Yoru didn't recognize Death because of her face. She didn't recognize her face, she probably didn't recognize her smell, she probably didn't recognize anything, because Death has lasted for so long, whereas everyone else is either reincarnated or been put in a different body. So this is exactly why none of them probably recognize Death as Death. The next piece of misdirection I want to talk about specifically is in chapter 132, once the Fallen Devil failed to kill Asa and Denji. And then she apologizes to Death, and then she just says, okay, return. She asks how Nagita made the Justice Devil vomit Denji and Asa back up, which Nagita just said she just controlled the Justice Devil to do that. Death then starts talking about the Nostradamus prophecy, saying that she doesn't want all the devils to come down onto Earth, and she says things like pizza and Chinese will cease to be, which is trying to fool us into thinking she's the famine devil again. She states it's the worst possible scenario and that no one will be able to stop the prophecy. However, she says that the war devil could be made to win. She asks Nagita to work with her, but Nagita says she has school. The reason why the falling devil couldn't be killed, I think, is also because of Death's influence. Because obviously she's the Death Devil, she can probably control if people die or if people don't die. And we know that Denji splayed the gore of her profane form across the street. So it's entirely possible that Death could control if people die or not. I think that there is one last bit of misdirection that Death says, and this is in chapter 194, where, you know, she meets up with Fumiko and Yoshida. So, Death says that she can't help with the fight against the Death Devil on the day that it's set to emerge. A, because she's the Death Devil, but B, her school is having a festival to pray for Tokyo's revival on the day that the Death Devil actually emerges, and she was on the planning committee. So even though they tried to convince her otherwise, Death insists on staying as a member of the committee because she's got friends and it seems like fun. She says she wants to savor, to enjoy food, which is another misdirection, people, and experiences. She hung out with Denji, Asa, and Yoru because they look like fun, and saying that Fumiko and Yoshida aren't fun. And then her friends easily lift her up. And now we know it's because she's got no organs. I think that's kind of all the misdirection that you get from Death. And you can tell how meticulously she's planned this out, especially with like saying that, oh, she can, like with the Falling Devil, how she could just spawn her out of nowhere, which I'll touch on shortly. But the next section, I will go on to more obvious indications that Death was the Death Devil. So the first bit of more obvious hint that I want to point out is in chapter 117. Now this one's going to be short because it's a short little indication. So she sees Yoru killing the Eternity Devil, and then she says, so much for that idea. Now, we could interpret this that she's only saying this because Yoshida is there, and for another reason that I'll get onto in a moment, we know that Yoshida has some sort of ties with Death. And Death probably just wanted to say that to try and get Yoshida on her side, most likely. And then going back to that one point that I was just talking about, the next hint is in chapter 122, when she's at the table with Yoshida. You know, the bit where she orders honey toast, the seasonal fruits assortment, vanilla ice cream, chocolate cake, oven-baked pancakes, strawberry parfait, and she wants 5 of each. And you know, this would go into the misdirection bit if it was specifically this one little bit. But what happens afterwards is why I put it here. And so Yoshida kinda says, or should I say, Famine Devil, and then Death insists on calling her Fami, and then Yoshida drops this line. I've heard the rumor that devils are bad with names, but an alias that low effort? Are you even trying to hide? Again, this could be hinting that, people will be able to find out that she's the Famine Devil immediately, But I think he definitely does know that Fami is actually the Death Devil. He just hasn't said anything. Where he talks about the alias that Death puts on herself, he says it's low effort, and I mean, Yoshida's been, like, very all-knowing the entire part, and he still is, like, weirdly all-knowing, so is Death. So there's something going on between them. Then he goes on to talk about the Nostradamus prophecy, and that the future devil predicted that 23 of the 30 people will lose their lives in July of 1999, which is when the Death Devil is supposed to show herself. Death says, and? Leading Yoshida to say that he knows Death is up to something. Death then says about the Falling Devil appearing, and she knew the exact time, which again leads into how Death can summon different kinds of devils that are in, like, her core or whatever. Like, she summoned the Falling Devil and she summoned the Guillotine Devil, which I'll get onto now. Quickly before that, I want to point out Yoru can summon Gun and Tank because Gun and Tank are her children, so I think that Death has the exact same thing, that she can summon, like, the Falling Devil because Falling Devil is a cause of death, and then she can summon the Guillotine Devil because it's an execution method. She should then be able to summon a bunch of other different devils. Moving on to chapter 158, this is the scene where she summons the Guillotine Devil for the first time. But since she summoned the Falling Devil, nobody really thought anything of it, because it's like, oh, it's Fami's powers. She can summon different devils by, like, starving them or whatever. Looking back on it, it's clearly like a child or something. Like how, again, I mentioned Yori could summon her children. Death can clearly summon her children. I could expect she could summon kinds of different devils. I don't think that she would be able to summon the Fire Devil because people have an innate fear of fire, not for the reason that it could kill you. But it makes sense why people have the fear of falling and how she can summon falling, because falling from a high height will kill you, war kills you, famine kills you. Being Control wouldn't kill you, so I don't think that she'd be able to summon Control Devil out of nowhere, but Control Devil is said to appear whenever the Death Devil appears, so we might see that in chapter 199. There's a bunch of different ideas that you could have that Death's children could be. I'm thinking a lot of them could be execution methods, like the lethal injection or the electric chair. But it's certainly possible that Death has a lot of children, because a lot of the reason why people have fears is because at the end of those fears, there is death. Like darkness. I could imagine darkness being a child of death, because you're not scared of the literal dark itself, you are scared of what's in the dark. So another one I want to point out is in chapter 165, where Death knows, like, shockingly a lot of information about Denji's contract with Pochita. She knew about it in the chapter with Asa's poem.
You're a fucking femcel.
But here, she clearly says, your heart's power is what makes you Chainsaw Man. It's the power of the contract. The terms of your contract require you to live a normal life. If you break the contract, the heart's owner, the real Chainsaw Man, will emerge. If we defeat the real Chainsaw Man and transplant a human heart into your body, you can become an ordinary human. Denji then asks how she knows about all that, and she just shuts up. Death has this thing where she likes to explain things to other people, But as soon as they ask how she knows it, she just shuts up. It's really weird. But it's even more weird how she knows the exact details of Pochita and Denji's contract. Like to the T, she knows exactly how to get Black Chainsaw Man out. So for the final category for Death's antics in Chainsaw Man Part 2 is uncategorized. Basically, I just made this because I didn't know where I could fit these in with misdirection or the hints ones, so I just compiled a bunch of other ones in my notes here. Like for example, chapter 108, which is Death's introduction. She asks Asa if she wants to save Yuko, saying that she can save her if she wants, and that she'd do anything for her little sister, showing Death appearing for the first time. And one thing I want to point out is her head tilt, which is reminiscent of someone hanging. Also, if she wanted to masquerade around as the famine devil, it wouldn't make sense that she'd call Yoru her little sister, because the leading cause of famine is war and conflict. Skipping all the way ahead to chapter 157, Yoru says Chainsaw Man's inside this place. Where? Famine? And Death just doesn't speak. Yoru then has to say where Fami, and then Death actually speaks. And the reason why she doesn't reply is because Famine is not her actual name, because Death is her actual name. Honestly, kind of a stupid fumble from the Death Devil. Death then says to Asa, "You're right, you can turn things into weapons without touching them now." Which obviously is saying that she's clearly happy that she's now stronger and that can create weapons without even touching them, which obviously is showing her growth, because Death wants to die. Skipping past the godforsaken chapter of 167, in 168 they go to a place called Death by Sushi. In 169 you have that glorious panel, which probably means all her organs are gone because she just spit out food. And in 170, Asa asks what's going on with Baron, and she says nothing. So what does it mean for the entire future of Chainsaw Man? I don't think it will be a bad thing. I think that this will be a very good thing. This is one of the most insane plot twists I've ever read, and I can't believe it. There's loads and loads of different theories of what could happen with Death, but I believe that she does want to die. I believe that she's been strengthening Denji and Yoru the entire time to kill her. Why? I have no idea. I think that she won't actually want to fight Denji and Yoru. I think it will be the primal fears that do. But as a whole, people have said that Chainsaw Man Part 2 has not hit nearly as hard as Part 1. And yes, I can agree with that. It's not hit as hard. It's not been as impressive. It's not had as many amazing moments as Part 1 did. But I still believe that this is the best, like one of the best chapters ever released in Chainsaw Man. It's immaculate. It's just incredible writing. Death, or Fami as we knew her, was one of my favourite characters anyway, and this just proves it even more. She's such a great character. But anyway, I think it's time to end the video, and yes, I thought that it was obvious once I read through the entirety of Part 2 again, just reading over everything. It was kind of, yeah, you could kind of tell that she was the Death Devil, but it's just because she never said it explicitly. And yes, I'm releasing this on the dub account, not my other account, because this will get more traction, but yeah, about the anime dubs as well, that's not going to happen again. It's unfortunate, but kind of, as soon as I released the Uno Kaizen video, there wasn't really many people kind of discussing. The server died ages ago. It died in like August. We were constantly trying to I was constantly trying to come up with new ideas, but nothing was really going through, and so the anime dubs is gone. But if you'd like to see this just turn into a variety YouTube account, that would be great. And yes, I know I've not posted a video in 10 months, but yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the analysis of the Death Devil. See ya.